Hey everyone, and welcome to the Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I showcase the top 10 best decks in Marvel Snap. Before we dive into them, let's do a split on this Ultimate Electro variant. Let's hope for some Kirby, let's hope for some ink, let's hope for something special here, and we get it inked! Let's go! We do get an inked, it's not a Kirby though, but it's an inked, and I don't have it inked in this particular one yet, so hey, that's a pretty good result. As we dive into the decks, we get started with number 10, which is Phoenix Force. Now, Phoenix Force might surprise you, but this definitely deserves a spot on this list. Phoenix Force has the widest delta between win rate and cube rate. 51% win rate, not very impressive, but a .30 cube rate is impressive, especially when it's the result of 51% of games won. This is a very good deck once you get the hang of it. Like, this is one of those decks. Listen, if you're watching this video like, I want to try some Phoenix Force, you need to play like at least 50 games before you can even start to count your losses and stuff, because it takes a lot of practice. There's specific snap and retreat cadences you got to get used to. So ultimately, I think that this is one of those decks that's perhaps an up-and-comer, maybe underappreciated, and deserves mention on this list. So Phoenix Force, probably better than you expect it to be. We go to number 9, which is Patriot. Now, Patriot's running a 52% win rate and a .22 cube rate, which is honestly not that good. What's interesting here is it is running Mockingbird. Mockingbird definitely improved the win rate and the cube rate of Patriot. It made it much more viable in the current meta, but the problem is that Mockingbird is going to be further down this list in some decks that perform way better. Yes, Mockingbird made Patriot better, but Patriot I think might need more help than just Mockingbird can provide. Regardless though, it's back in the top 10. It's good to see it as an archetype kind of starting to gain some ground as a whole, but I still think it needs a little bit of work, especially at that cube rate. We go to number 8, it's New Zoo, a very impressive cube rate of .35 at a 52% win rate. Now, this is a pretty interesting deck. Once again, it's using Mockingbird, but it has the likes of Shauna, Dazzler, and others that aren't seeing a lot of play in general, but suddenly are seeing play. I also like the initiative granting effect that these Zoo cards tend to have with the Alliance, which is a great finisher on turn 6, and ultimately, it's just a good deck. I mean, when I play it, I tend to play it with Martyr, not Titania, because I feel like Titania is so tilt-worthy. But anyways, this is technically what the statistical best version of this deck is. You can make modifications as you so desire. Regardless, though, New Zoo is back. Zoo is pretty good. It's actually not that bad. The challenge with Zoo, however, is that it really does not compete with the verticality of Hela, Apocalypse, Hela discard, Helicarrier discard, I should say, Tribunal. Like, there's so many decks, Thanos, that it just does not compete vertically against particularly well, and that keeps it down. Similar to what Patriot does. Mockingbird adds some verticality to both of these decks, but still, like a popping off Thanos, a popping off Hela, you just can't really compete power-wise. So that's what keeps these archetypes down in the dirt, with Hazmat making a bit of a comeback here. Now, Hazmat, this is a great deck. I absolutely love it. I think it's a very creative take on Hazmat. And what you've got is you've got this Hazmat deck that takes advantage of the now board-wide Luke Cage effect. It has Man-Thing in it, which is in the Spotlight caches if you happen to pull Man-Thing. Typhoid, which you see almost no Typhoid at all. And overall, it's just a good deck. And I love the utilization of Hazmat as well. You have the Shang-Chi for the very vertical threats that are very prevalent in the meta. Now, this deck can be very awkward to pilot, but it's a damn good one. It's one of the better Hazmat decks we've seen in a while. And you know I love me some good Hazmat, so it's great to see Hazmat making a bit of an appearance in the meta, even if it's a 50% win rate, but a fairly decent cube rate at .31. We go to number 6, and this is Loki. Now, Loki kind of disappoints me, to be honest with you. And I know you're thinking, Alex, this is the number 6 deck on your list. And you're saying it's not that great. Well, first of all, it's a .18 cube rate. It's on here based on the fact that it's an archetype defining card and an archetype that people are interested in. And it has a win rate of 54%, which sets it at number 6. However, I think the cube rate is indicative of the fact that it's really not all that strong across most MMRs. At higher MMR, a lot of players pilot Loki to very high degrees of success, and I think the cube rate is higher into, like, higher infinite. However, in this particular sample, which is all post-infinite stats, we do see that Loki's cube rate is very low. The addition of Mockingbird is helping, but Mockingbird's weird because you have to top deck it for it to be really viable, unless you're just playing I didn't actually draw my card, so I'm not playing my Loki, I'm playing my other routes, for instance, right? But ultimately, I don't think Loki's great. I honestly don't. I think that Loki needs a little more tweaking still. So honestly, I do think there's better decks on this list. But this is currently one of the top versions of Loki that is circulating in Marvel Snap. Just not a huge fan of it, honestly. Especially when you've been playing Hella Discard. Hella Discard, a 0.22 cube rate, modestly better than Loki, but not nearly as good as some of the other discard decks we're going to talk about shortly. 54% win rate. It's good, but it's not the best version of discard right now. Why play all this RNG-centric stuff when you can have some additional reliability in some of the better lists? It is still good, it still gets the job done, but it's not the best version of discard, but still running a 54% win rate. It's pretty damn decent. It sets it at number 5. We go to number 4 here. We have Apocalypse Discard, a 0.25 cube rate, slightly higher than the last, except, of course, you're running the Apocalypse Gambit here instead of the, by Gambit, I mean like the path you take, never mind, not the card Gambit. Anyways, I gotta choose my words better, but anyways, we have Meek here, and Meek's actually pretty good because it recently got buffed, and Meek feels way better than it ever has. If you haven't tried the new discard card decks with Meek, you have to, because it is so much better than it was before. And honestly, it brings a deck like this back into the meta, even though the cube rate is not quite as high as you'd want. Again, I think a lot of these cube rates are being suppressed because you have specific archetypes that are just so outperforming the others, in particular Thanos, especially with the addition of Mockingbird. So anyways, a very good deck, Apoc discard, very good. And also keep in mind, in Infinite, players are going to be very used to the play lines of Apocalypse. It's hard to catch people by surprise with this deck, but it does land at number 4. We go to Heli Discard. Now, discard after discard after discard, but it's Helicarrier Discard that currently runs by far the highest cube rate at 0.42. Then you have the 57% win rate. It's a clear cut ahead of all the other discard archetypes, so it's great to see it. You are running Apocalypse, of course, but the Helicarrier edition with the Collector and others make it a little more well-rounded. I do like this deck a lot. It is a definite performer. You're seeing in some tournament scenes as well. Honestly, it's a very strong deck. It's a strong showing here, and if you're interested in playing discard, this is currently one of the best versions that you can play of it. I'm hoping that Black Knight makes a comeback, by the way. We're seeing Black Knight do well competitively, but in the actual statistical meta, it's not quite as prevalent as we once saw it to be. So anyways, Heli Discard making some progress. We go to number 2, and guess what? It's your boy's deck. I'm actually so excited about this. Now, generally speaking, a deck like this would not overperform the others, but it is because of the X-Men and Avengers event. I created this deck, I built this deck, I designed it on stream, and then it was an absolute hit. It has tons of games played, thousands and thousands. It's running a 57% win rate and a cube rate of 0.50. It is so damn strong right now that it's actually sitting at number 2, only surpassed by one of the most broken decks we've seen in the longest time. This deck absolutely slaps. I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy that I'm getting tons of tweets, people getting to Infinite with it. I'm so happy it's working out for you guys. This deck is the one I'm playing right now. It is so damn fun. You have to try it if you haven't yet. It sits at number 2 right now in the meta as of recording. Really like it, very proud of it, and I hope you guys enjoy playing it too. Because once the event's over, these cards mostly suck again, so it's like, play it while you can. And then we go to number 1, and surprise, surprise, it's enemy number 1, and it's Thanos. And, you know, I'm really glad that Thanos got Mockingbird. It really needed another major tool to synergize with all of its stones. Oh my gosh. So yes, the time stone got nerfed, but that did kind of hurt it a little bit. But somehow the latest version of Thanos, which we are seeing some modifications to the Thanos decks quite a bit. Right now, we are seeing a lot of Mobius and Mobius to counter the Mockingbird in the mirror match against Thanos versus Thanos, while you're also running Mockingbird yourself. We're seeing Professor X being played once again because of the ability, to get some extra energy with Hope Summers and others, right? There's a lot of benefit to playing these cards together in unison because they're just so synergistic, especially when you have cards like Cull Obsidian dropping for massive power to give yourself initiative. It's just, honestly, it's a damn good deck. It feels like it has no disadvantage, and it should be of no surprise that Thanos continues to be at number 1 in the meta. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're not subscribed yet, consider hitting that subscribe button, and we'll see you on that next Marvel Snap video.